Across the U.S., the once celebrated dream of homeownership is quietly turning into a financial trap for many sellers. In certain overlooked pockets of the country, homeowners are learning a harsh truth: the equity they believed was rock solid may be slipping away. Analysts are calling these places zombie markets, not because homes are abandoned, but because they simply won't sell. Properties sit untouched for months or even years as buyer demand evaporates, leaving owners stuck with mortgages they can't escape. Imagine streets lined with for sale signs that start to feel permanent, prices dropping again and again while buyers barely blink. These aren't just sluggish neighborhoods, they are markets where time feels frozen and sellers are stranded. Today, we're taking you across the country to spotlight the 10 cities where selling your home has become painfully difficult. We'll look at what's driving this shift: swelling listings, shrinking buyer pools, and economic changes turning once thriving areas into seller limbo. If you're thinking about selling soon or trying to avoid a bad investment, this list matters. One city on this list was a tech superstar just 2 years ago and now struggles to find buyers. And our number one entry faces high costs and sinking quality of life, a true real estate zombie zone. Before we jump in, tap like, hit subscribe for more market insights, and let us know in the comments, does your town feel like it's becoming a zombie market? Number 10. Cleveland, Ohio. We kick off this list along the edge of Lake Erie, in a city rich with culture and grit. Cleveland has so much character: top-tier arts, fiercely loyal sports fans, and neighborhoods full of history. People come here for the affordability, the Midwestern charm, and that tight-knit community feeling. But if you're trying to sell a home in Cleveland right now, that same affordability is exactly what's freezing the market in place. Instead of a dramatic crash, Cleveland is experiencing something more subtle and in many ways more painful: a slow, grinding standstill. The problem isn't panic selling or plummeting prices. Let's break down what's really happening. According to local MLS data, properties in several Cleveland neighborhoods are now sitting on the market for more than 90 days on average. That's 3 long months of continuing mortgage payments, utilities, upkeep, and waiting, with no guarantee of an offer. While many parts of the country watched their housing inventory shrink over the past year, Cleveland moved in the opposite direction. Realtor.com recently reported that active listings in the metro have jumped nearly 15% year over year, far above the national trend. And the price reductions tell the story clearly. Redfin's tracking shows that roughly 1/3 of Cleveland listings have already taken at least one price cut in the last 3 months. Sellers aren't celebrating bidding wars here, they're just hoping someone will start a conversation. There's another serious factor weighing on this market. According to Adam Data Solutions, Cleveland posted one of the highest foreclosure rates among major U.S. metro areas in the first quarter. Distressed sales are pouring additional inventory into an already crowded market, and competition from those lower-priced foreclosure properties is dragging down values for everyone else. Zillow's numbers round out the picture. Actual closed sales in Cleveland are down roughly 12% from a year ago. Fewer homes selling, more homes piling up, and buyers staying cautious. If you're trying to sell in Cleveland right now, you're not imagining the struggle, and you're definitely not alone. Tell us in the comments, are you seeing these trends play out in your neighborhood too? Number 9. Detroit, Michigan. As we head west, our route brings us into the Motor City, Detroit. Few places in America have a story as dramatic and determined as this one. Detroit represents resilience at its core, a city pushing through decades of challenges and fighting to reinvent itself with innovation, tech investment, and massive redevelopment efforts. On paper, the comeback narrative looks powerful. But if you're a homeowner trying to sell here, the reality on the ground tells a very different story. Detroit's housing struggle isn't defined by a lack of ambition or progress. Instead, the market is haunted almost literally by a lingering inventory of abandoned and neglected properties. This shadow stock drags down pricing power and leaves regular sellers competing with empty shells scattered across many neighborhoods. Put a for sale sign up in Detroit, and chances are you'll be staring at it for a while. Market research from Norada Real Estate Investments highlights the issue clearly. In several parts of the city, homes are sitting on the market for around 100 days before finding a buyer. And while waiting is frustrating, the real challenge is what you're waiting against. Detroit still posts one of the highest vacancy rates in the country, roughly 15%, according to the latest U.S. Census Bureau data. Negotiations here can feel brutal. Redfin data shows sellers only recouping about 92% of their original asking price. Break that down. List a property for $300,000, and you're realistically walking away with about $24,000 less, assuming it even gets to the closing table. And that's another problem. The number of homes actually closing has plunged. Local Realtor Association figures report nearly a 19% drop in completed sales compared to last year. Buyers aren't lining up with offers. In fact, many aren't showing up at all. Why the stall? Detroit's downtown and select districts are undeniably improving, but the broader metro faces tough demographic pressure. The University of Michigan's economic forecast shows population growth hovering near zero, with some neighborhoods still losing residents. Add to that another complication. Atom Data Solutions recently flagged Detroit for elevated mortgage delinquency levels. Selling a home here today means being realistic, pricing strategically, and packing a lot of patience. Detroit's story is one of incredible grit and undeniable momentum, but for many homeowners, the real estate market still feels like it's idling in neutral. Number 8. Baltimore, Maryland. Next, we steer our way to the East Coast and pull into Baltimore, often celebrated for its rich history, iconic row homes, and lively waterfront districts. On the surface, this city offers something special: tight-knit communities, world-renowned medical campuses, and the convenience of being just a short ride from Washington, D.C. For many, owning a piece of Baltimore means embracing its character and charm. But for sellers, the picture is far darker. Baltimore's housing market has split into two different realities. Certain neighborhoods near the water and university hubs continue to hold steady, but large portions of the city are behaving like real estate graveyards. The biggest red flag here is time. Zillow's latest figures reveal that in the struggling parts of Baltimore, the median time on market has climbed to about 110 days. That's nearly 4 months of waiting, worrying, and carrying monthly expenses while hoping a buyer eventually appears. And hope is really the right word because inventory is climbing fast. Local housing data shows an 18% rise in active listings, while pending sales are sliding in the opposite direction. When homes pile up and contracts decline, the message is clear. Buyers have all the power, or in many areas, there are barely buyers at all. To get anything moving, sellers are slashing prices. According to Redfin, about 40% of listings in Baltimore have undergone price reductions, often multiple times, just to spark a negotiation. Baltimore's population trend isn't helping either. The U.S. Census Bureau reports one of the most significant population losses among major East Coast cities within the last year. High property taxes and ongoing safety concerns are pushing residents elsewhere, shrinking the buyer pool even further. Sales activity reflects the shift. Data from the Maryland Association of Realtors shows a 17% drop in closed deals, signaling that even when someone wants to sell, the exit door is getting smaller and harder to reach. And looming over all of this? Foreclosures. Atom Data Solutions still lists Baltimore among cities with unusually elevated foreclosure activity. For homeowners trying to move on, Baltimore can feel less like Charm City and more like a stalled-out market. If you're living through this slow-motion freeze, drop a comment. Is the market as sluggish in your neighborhood as the numbers suggest? Number 7. St. Louis, Missouri. Now we swing back into the Midwest and land in St. Louis, famously known as the Gateway to the West. On paper, this city has a lot going for it: affordable housing, striking historic neighborhoods, and several major corporations anchoring the local economy. For decades, St. Louis was viewed as a steady, no-surprises housing market. But that once reliable stability has quietly morphed into something far more concerning: stagnation. For homeowners looking to sell, St. Louis has slipped into what many analysts now call a zombie-style market, the kind where listings linger, interest fades, and silence stretches on. Let's break it down. Realtor.com's latest data shows the average days on market hovering around 85 days, and in many neighborhoods within the city limits, that wait easily stretches past the 100-day mark. That's months of holding costs, stress, and watching the listing clock tick. The biggest culprit? Population shrinkage. The U.S. Census Bureau has documented a long-standing trend: more residents leaving St. Louis than moving in. While that trend didn't start yesterday, its impact on housing has sped up dramatically. Fewer people equals fewer buyers, and that slow drip out of population has left a noticeable imprint on demand. This gradual exodus feeds another problem: vacancy. St. Louis now ranks among cities with the highest housing vacancy rates in the nation, with some estimates putting it above 16%. In practical terms, when you put a home on the market here, you're not just competing with other motivated sellers, you're competing with thousands of empty houses scattered throughout the metro. That imbalance strips sellers of negotiation power. Price reductions have become almost routine. According to Redfin, about 38% of listings have already cut their asking price, sometimes more than once, just to capture buyer attention. And even those price drops aren't guaranteed to move the needle. Sales activity is plunging. The St. Louis Association of Realtors reports a 20% decrease in closed sales year over year. Fewer buyers, heightened caution, and a growing supply of available homes make this one of the hardest environments sellers in St. Louis have faced in years. For those currently trying to sell in St. Louis, we'd love to hear from you. Are you seeing these trends firsthand? Drop your experience in the comments below. Number 6. New Orleans, Louisiana. Next, we head down to the Deep South, to the soulful heartbeat of Louisiana, New Orleans. This is a place where culture isn't just visible, it's alive in the air. Jazz spills into the streets, Creole flavors fill every corner, and history is etched into the architecture. For many, buying a home here feels like securing a piece of living art. But right now, for homeowners trying to sell, that dream has twisted into something far more unsettling. Not because the economy tanked or buyers disappeared on their own, but due to something far more unusual: an insurance meltdown. This is a different type of zombie market, born not from weak demand, but from climate-driven financial paralysis. After a string of powerful hurricanes, many major insurance companies simply packed up and abandoned Louisiana. The result? A full-scale coverage crisis. According to analysis from Norada Real Estate Investments, home insurance premiums have skyrocketed, in many cases doubling or even tripling in just 2 years. Some homeowners are now staring at annual insurance bills north of $10,000. For many buyers, that kind of expense makes owning here financially impossible. That has frozen the New Orleans housing market in place. Recent data from the New Orleans Metropolitan Association of Realtors shows average days on market have blown past 120 days, meaning many properties are sitting for 4 months or more with no movement. Meanwhile, inventory keeps piling up. Active listings have surged by more than 22%, yet deals aren't happening. Over 42% of sellers have already slashed their listing price, according to Redfin, desperately trying to sweeten the deal enough to compensate for insurance sticker shock. In many cases, they're sacrificing years of equity just to spark interest, and the sales pipeline is drying up fast. Pending sales have plunged nearly 24%, a clear sign that buyer activity has collapsed. It's painfully simple. You can own a gorgeous, well-maintained, perfectly priced home in New Orleans today and still have no chance of selling it. Because the financial system underpinning real estate, the insurance market, is on life support. Our hearts go out to homeowners dealing with this. It's a crisis that demands a real solution, and soon, because right now New Orleans isn't suffering from lack of charm, it's suffering from an insurance collapse that has brought the market to a standstill. Number 5. Memphis, Tennessee. Next stop, we head up the Mississippi River to the birthplace of blues and barbecue, Memphis. This city has long attracted people with its affordable cost of living, legendary music scene, and major job anchor in FedEx's global logistics hub. Not long ago, Memphis was considered one of the hottest playgrounds for real estate investors, but that gold rush didn't last. Today, Memphis has slipped into zombie market territory, and ironically, it's the investors who helped fuel the boom that are now responsible for the bust. For years, investors poured in, buying properties in cash, scooping up rental homes, and bidding up prices. But now, the music has stopped. According to a recent report from Zillow, investor purchases in Memphis have plunged by more than 30%, marking one of the steepest declines in the country. Those same investors who once competed for every listing have now vanished, and crucially, everyday buyers have not stepped in to replace them. The result? Sellers are stuck. Properties that used to go under contract in a matter of days are now lingering for months. The average days on market has ballooned to about 95 days, meaning many listings sit through an entire season before getting serious interest. And there's more bad news: inventory is piling up fast. As investors attempt to offload homes and regular sellers continue listing, the supply has surged dramatically. Realtor.com reports active listings in Memphis are up nearly 30% year over year, a flood that has killed any leverage sellers once had. With too many homes and not enough demand, price reductions have become the norm. Roughly 41% of Memphis listings have already cut their price, a sign of sellers scrambling to attract the shrinking pool of buyers. Sales activity paints the same picture. The Memphis Area Association of Realtors revealed that home sales have dropped around 22%, showing just how thin buyer traffic really is. The dream of selling to a cash-heavy investor? That chapter is closed. What remains is a marketplace crowded with for sale signs and only a handful of buyers who can now take their time and hunt for bargains. Number 4. Phoenix, Arizona. Now we head deep into the desert, landing in Phoenix, a city that became the face of the pandemic housing boom. For a brief moment, everyone seemed to be racing toward the Valley of the Sunday: warm weather, wide-open suburbs, new tech campuses, you name it, Phoenix had it all. But today, that boom energy has evaporated. What was once one of the hottest real estate markets in the nation has cooled into a zombie landscape where selling a home means enduring a frustrating and expensive waiting game. Why? Phoenix is suffering from severe market whiplash. Developers, investors, and iBuyers all rushed in when demand was exploding, and they built and bought at a breakneck pace. Then the music stopped. Sellers are now staring at disappearing equity. Homes that used to sell in days now linger on the market for more than 75 days on average, roughly triple the pace seen during the pandemic frenzy. And the biggest culprit here is sky-high supply. Local analysts at the Cromford Report have flagged an oversupply crisis. Developers flooded the area with new builds, and those properties are now competing head-to-head with existing homes. That creates what analysts call shadow inventory, a hidden pipeline of supply weighing down prices even further. Meanwhile, the investor retreat has turned into a stampede. iBuyers and large institutional landlords who once held tens of thousands of Phoenix homes are now offloading them, in many cases at a loss. Instead of pushing prices higher, they're flooding the market with bargain-priced listings. According to recent data, active inventory in the Phoenix metro has surged roughly 40% year over year. For sellers, that means there's almost no leverage left. Nearly half of all listings, over 45%, have already slashed their price, making this more of a price war than a negotiation. Even with those cuts, demand hasn't recovered. Closed sales have fallen by about 16%, and many local buyers simply can't afford to jump in because higher interest rates have crushed affordability. When the buyer pool collapses and supply keeps rising, you get the kind of eerie slowdown Phoenix is living through right now. Number 3. Boise, Idaho. Now we head north to a city that became the symbol of America's pandemic housing frenzy: Boise, Idaho. Not long ago, this quiet mountain town suddenly turned into the most talked about housing market in the country. Thousands of buyers, especially cash-heavy movers from California, rushed in looking for space, scenery, and a lower cost of living. And for a brief moment, Boise looked unstoppable. But that meteoric rise came with a brutal downside. What shot up has now come crashing down, and the city's real estate market has essentially frozen in place. Boise didn't just cool off, it slammed on the brakes. Sellers who purchased during the peak, or who still think peak pricing is possible, are now stuck. The buyer pipeline has dried up, and many who would enter the market are choosing not to because prices are still completely out of sync with local incomes. As a result, listings are just sitting. On average, homes here linger on the market for over 90 days, according to the Boise Regional Realtors, a staggering shift for what was once the most competitive market in the country. And the price declines have been dramatic. Redfin data continues to rank Boise at the top of the nation for year-over-year price drops, with values falling 15% to 20% from their pandemic peak. Even with that correction, affordability is still out of reach for locals. While the out-of-state buyers who once flooded the market have essentially disappeared, inventory has exploded. Active listings in Boise are up around 60% compared to last year, which is almost unheard of. Sellers are facing reality the hard way. More than half of all homes on the market, over 55%, have been forced to cut their price. That's one price drop for every 2 listings. Yet despite all those cuts, the market remains frozen. Closed sales have plunged by more than 30%, signaling not just slower activity, but a complete buyer retreat. What we're seeing in Boise is not mild cooling, it is buyer abandonment. People don't want to purchase homes that may continue losing value, and many recent buyers are staring down the possibility of being underwater. For longtime residents hoping to cash out, the exit doors have narrowed, and for anyone who bought during the frenzy, this downturn has become a harsh dose of reality. Boise's boom is over, and the aftermath is proving to be one of the harshest market resets in the country. Number 2. Austin, Texas. We finally arrived at the market everyone has been watching: Austin, Texas. The legendary live music capital, the flashy tech darling of the South, and for years the poster child of unstoppable population growth. Not long ago, Austin felt like Silicon Valley's younger, cooler sibling. People were arriving by the thousands, bidding wars were routine, and homes practically sold themselves. But that chapter has closed, and what we're seeing now is one of the most dramatic turnarounds in the entire country. Austin's real estate engine didn't just slow down, it stalled mid-flight. What was once one of the hottest housing markets in the nation has transformed into a full-blown seller nightmare, a textbook zombie market, where everything looks vibrant on the surface, cranes in the sky, new subdivisions everywhere, yet very few homes are actually moving. The inventory problem here is massive. Tech layoffs at heavy hitters like Tesla and Dell have shaken confidence, and at the same time, builders continued pouring concrete as if demand would never end. The result? Supply has completely overwhelmed the buyer pool. According to the Austin Board of Realtors, the city now sits at over 4 months of housing inventory, which is a 150% increase from pandemic-era lows. The days when a home would hit the market and be gone in a weekend? Long gone. The median time on market has exploded from just 9 days 2 years ago to about 85 days now, nearly 3 months of waiting, watching, and hoping for an offer. And sellers are feeling the pressure. Redfin data shows that almost half, over 48% of sellers in Austin have been forced to cut their price, making this one of the top price reduction markets in the country. Even then, buyers remain skeptical. Closed sales keep dropping, down roughly 18% compared to last year. Why isn't anyone stepping in? After years of breakneck population growth, the latest U.S. Census numbers reveal that Austin's migration boom has cooled dramatically. The flow of newcomers that once fueled the frenzy has slowed, leaving a bloated market with fewer qualified buyers. And if you're trying to sell today, you're not just competing with your neighbors, you're competing against brand new construction, builder incentives, and steep discounts developers are offering simply to unload inventory. Austin isn't an empty ghost town, not visually, not culturally, not economically. But for sellers, it might as well be. It's the rare case of a blazing boomtown that has flipped into one of the toughest places in America to unload a home. Number 1. San Francisco, California. And now we reach the final stop on this journey, the market that once represented the pinnacle of American prosperity and now stands as the most dramatic housing collapse in the country. San Francisco, Long hailed as the crown jewel of tech wealth and an unstoppable real estate juggernaut, has become the ultimate zombie market. For decades, simply owning a home here felt like holding a winning lottery ticket. Today, homeowners are discovering a brutal reality. These ultra-expensive properties have turned into anchors, and the buyer pool has evaporated. This is not just a slowdown. It's a stunning reversal of an era. San Francisco's housing crisis is fueled by three powerful forces colliding at once. Sky-high prices that most people can no longer justify, a mass departure of tech workers and companies, and ongoing quality of life issues pushing potential buyers toward more affordable, safer regions. The result? Homes that once sparked bidding wars now sit untouched. No tours, no offers, no interest. The data backs up the shift. According to the California Association of Realtors, the median days on market has doubled in the past year and a half, now climbing beyond 60 days. For a city where homes used to sell almost instantly, this is stunning. Inventory is ballooning as well. Redfin reports that active listings have jumped roughly 40% year over year, leaving sellers with unprecedented competition. But the housing picture is only half the story. Downtown San Francisco is enduring a commercial real estate crash, with office vacancy rates soaring past 30%. Businesses have packed up, employees left with them, and the ripple effects are devastating. Population trends tell the rest. The U.S. Census Bureau notes that San Francisco experienced one of the steepest population declines of any major American city following the pandemic. That means fewer residents, fewer buyers, and significantly less wealth circulating locally. Sellers are feeling the squeeze. Zillow reports that nearly half, about 45% of listings, have slashed their asking price, and not just by a little. We're talking dramatic cuts, sometimes in the seven-figure range, on properties that would have sparked a bidding frenzy only a few years ago. And sales volume? It's collapsing. Closed transactions are down around 25% year over year, signaling not hesitation but outright buyer retreat. What we're witnessing isn't a normal market cycle, it's a fundamental shift in desirability, affordability, and lifestyle preferences. People simply aren't willing to pay San Francisco prices for a San Francisco experience that isn't what it used to be. If you're a homeowner trying to sell here, you're facing the textbook definition of a zombie market. Properties roam the MLS endlessly, and the demand that once defined this city has all but disappeared. You found this breakdown valuable? Tap that like button. Share this with someone keeping an eye on the market, and make sure you're subscribed so you never miss another deep dive into housing trends.